So this is it then, the first all-new Aston Martin in a long, long time. Looks pretty, but is it any good? Within about 20 seconds of driving this car, you know straight away it's a GT, not a sports car. It's quite big, and with the dampers set to soft, it's supple. It's much more comfortable than any rival. Even an F12 with the dampers knocked back isn't as supple as this thing, and I like that. There's a bloke working at Aston Martin now who used to be at Lotus. I won't say his name, he'll be embarrassed. But you can feel his influence in the way this car is very supple, it's got good wheel travel, and it's happy to go the full throw of the damper the whole time. So, I like that, fits the character of the car. The engine? Well, that's interesting. It doesn't feel that turbocharged to me, but the torque is so enormous that it frankly overcomes the rear wheels. As you can see, it's raining on a wet, damp day like this. You can barely use the thing, even with the damper set to soft, and that's a bit of a pain. But you really can change the personality of this car with these two buttons on the dash. I've got an S here and a damper here. So this S button gives me the DNA of my powertrain, so gear shift, engine, that kind of thing. And that means I can go from normal to sport, sport plus. Sport plus gives me a loud exhaust as well. Here we go, here's some of this. They've done a really good job of getting intake noise considering it's turbocharged, so well done Aston Martin. The damper button, again, 3 settings, normal, which is called GT mode, I quite like that, sport, and then sport plus. Firm it up, you get a load more support, less roll, and a less kind of heaving motion over bumps, but you do lose a load of that ride comfort. So on the road, I tend to leave it in GT, and I have it on the second powertrain mode, so just sport, better throttle response, and a little bit more noise, not too raucous though. Do you like the styling? It doesn't photograph well, and I worry that the whole floating C-pillar thing will age cars like this and the i8 a bit quickly, but on the road, I actually really like the DB11's wide-hipped look. The numbers are 600 horsepower from the 5.2-litre twin-turbo V12, 516 foot-pounds of torque, and it weighs 1,770 kilograms. Aston claims it'll do 200 miles an hour, and it feels that punchy. The front brakes are 400mm steels, the gearbox is the 8-speed ZF unit, and Bridgestone named the tyre the S007. How sweet. So for fast road driving, I think this car is really well judged. Gearbox calibration of that is very clever too, ZF 8-speed. Just leave it in drive and it really does think for you. You don't need to have it in manual. Now and again it's nice to snick a gear, but I just leave it in drive and away you go. Again, reinforcing the GT credentials. Cabin, well, as a place to sit, it's lovely. There's lots going on here. The Mercedes infotainment doesn't feel that modern nowadays, but I love the readout here. It's very clear and it's a new direction for Aston Martin. The square steering wheel, yeah, you can keep that. Wind and tyre noise, again, well suppressed, supporting the GT roll. But what's it like if you drive it really fast? I suppose we ought to go to a racing circuit. The weather at Anglesey is horrendous today, pretty much flooded, so it's going to be more side window viewing forwards than windscreen. And I know I'll be accused of being irrelevant, but that's the way it is, okay? I can tell you what it's like on the road, I have done. I've told you about the refinement, the damping, everything else. So now you need to know what it's like to absolutely thrape the new DB11 to within an inch of its life. And I will gladly do that for you, although it's looking very, very, very flooded here. So we'll see what we can do without throwing it into the Irish Sea. First of all, I'm in the most aggressive chassis mode. I've got my dampers in the middle mode, and I've got my traction and stability completely off. This does mean that the first 3 gears are to be used tentatively. In fourth, you can give it the full potatoes. So there you go, this is second gear now. Get an idea how easily it goes. A little sniff of throttle and it's already fully sideways. So what have we got? We've got easily the most balanced Aston chassis I've ever driven. This is an absolute honey, long wheelbase, lots of steering lock, and a level of progression towards the outer limits of oversteer that I've never experienced in an Aston. They can normally be quite spiky, but this is really, really nice. That's partly down to the differential. The last few fast Astons I've driven have been a bit nightmarish. The diff sort of gets hot and becomes asymmetrical, works one way and not the other. Well, this one, not the same. This feels like a completely new setup for Aston Martin to me. Gearbox is great, it's shifting quickly. I've got it in the manual setting. The tyre, the Bridgestone tyre, feels quite hard to me. I mean, it's not finding anything like the grip that an equivalent Michelin would in these conditions, but it's beautifully progressive when it breaks away. The motor, very interesting. I had to remind myself it was turbocharged a minute ago because it makes such a great noise and the delivery is so linear. You only realise it's turbocharged when you start to think about how much it's struggling to get any traction. I mean, if I touch the throttle there, look at that. I'm barely even trying, to be honest with you. And through this quick right-hander here, if I just turn in, it will want to oversteer. There it goes. Brakes are good. They're not ceramic. For the money, should they be ceramic? Probably. The other thing I've noticed is that when you want to turn the car in, this car's got a bit of rear bias, so you can actually use the brake just to help it in. Now, there you go, there it goes. Look at that. I did that under brakes. I didn't touch the throttle. That's quite helpful. Utterly irrelevant for a large GT car, I'll give you that. All round, I didn't expect it to be this much fun. It's a really, really playful, fun car with heaps of balance and much easier to slide around than I ever expected. And it feels like it could do it for a long, long time. It feels robust. So, yeah, this is miles better than I'd expected. And again, it's got a hint of Lotus about it, hasn't it? I wonder why.